the idea of boycotting Chinese goods because of the dispute now in Doklam. It seems that the Indians are in no mood of economic cooperation if the dispute is something hanging over them.
Well, that is absolutely not correct, because as has been correctly said, we can start a conflict in a particular sector, but where it will spread, we do not know. We can start a conflict in the field of defense, but that is likely to go into the field of economics, business, and so many other fields. So before lighting that kind of a fire, I'm sure that the leaders of both India and China will think very, very deeply. And I, for one, have always had confidence in the leadership of China and that of India, that they are not going to light a fire over which subsequently they may not have control. Well, look, for us, the whole of Jammu and Kashmir belongs to us. And we have a lot of Chinese people there. You have a Chinese road being built there. And you have, on the eastern, northeastern corner of India, you have an area which we believe is our territory.
So you bring up a new dispute between China
has
and
taken
India.
over and has built it. No, it's not a new dispute. It's been there. My point is very simple. India has not allowed these activities to lead to war, because we know that the consequences of the two biggest powers in Asia going to war will be much more than India and China. It will make a difference to Asia. It will make a difference to our relationship with the United States, your relationship and my relationship. Both of us will be weaker. It will make a big difference in trade. I believe Chinese companies have a $300 billion market in India. Korean companies, Japanese companies, American companies, European companies, they'd be delighted if there is a war, because that means the Chinese
since you
companies
mentioned
will be
that,
the BJP government has not passed any such policy. Individuals in the BJP may have said that, or individuals whom some people think are in the BJP may have written something. Now we find in China, whether on the internet or in India, people write all kinds of things. Like one scholar has talked about war in 2 weeks. Some other scholar in London has talked about a full-scale war. I don't believe any of these things. On the Indian side, India has been very, very careful not to make any inflammatory comment. And may I remind you, our Prime Minister opened India to Chinese investment, opened India to Chinese tourism, and he has given no indication of any kind of a reversal of that policy.
Mr. Rong,
that is because of our confidence that the leadership of China will ensure that there is peace.
And Mr. Rong, Mr. Nalapa said that he wouldn't know the authorities' calculations, but some analysts say that New Delhi is now betting on Beijing's preoccupation BRICS summit in Xiamen, which of course we expect Indian Prime Minister Modi to come, and also the upcoming 19 CPC's Party Congress, so that the Chinese will have their hands tied. There wouldn't be war or conflicts happening because of the dispute. What is your thinking?
Well, before I answer your question, let me just come back a little bit about the issue raised by my friend, Professor Nalapat, about Kashmir. I think the issue of Kashmir is totally different from what is happening in Donglang. Kashmir is an internationally recognized dispute, and the Chinese position had always made it very clear, remain unchanged. So I don't think it's a good idea to compare the Kashmir issue with the incident of Donglang, where it is very clear internationally, legally, that the Indian side is illegally sending its border troops across and delimited the boundary areas between China and India. Coming back to the question of the presumption that because of the BRICS summit meeting and because of the China's domestic agenda in later part of the year, that could possibly mean that China would sacrifice its core interest for territorial integrity and sovereign right. I think it is totally wrong and a miscalculation. And of course, a successful summit of BRICS will definitely, I think, serve the best interest of all the members of BRICS, including India. And I hope that And I believe it is also the understanding of the Indian side that we will work together to make sure this summit successful. But for that, I think the Indian side should make the right decision and find a way, find a way right now without any hesitation, so to diffuse this, the issue. And that is, for that, I think, as my government repeatedly said, that India has to withdraw unconditionally its border troops that has been illegally trespassing China's territory.
And also, Mr. Nalapat, there is a long-term concern from China. From the Chinese perspective, if a clear boundary line bound by a legal document, in Chinese opinion, are tempered with, how can we trust India if Indian troops won't go across the border anytime in the future?
Well, I'd like to point out that according to our understanding, that particular area belongs to Bhutan, which is an old friend of India, and it doesn't belong to China at all. That is our understanding of that particular territory. So it's not, and so far as our understanding of Kashmir is concerned, it is 100% a part of India, and we don't recognize this so-called international dispute. And today in the United Nations, everybody yawns when the mention of Kashmir is taken up by the Pakistan side. Nobody is interested in this any longer. So we have a different perception from the Chinese side. My point is, on the South China Sea, for example,
you even
American
don't
ships
think
have
that
been
the
coming.
Chinese has
China
full
doesn't go to
control
war.
over Dongguan area up until now, even if Putin brought that up?
To say that full control does not imply building a wall or building a road that comes right to our sensitive area. If our Chinese friends can, for example, they don't need that the road. That's a road to nowhere. So even if the Chinese side stops building that road, frankly, then the entire cause of action is over.
The Indian media recently tends to blow some hot and cold on China, sometimes in a way that China finds difficult to follow. I know that at the end of July, you yourself, Mr. Nalapat, met with Wu Dunyi, the newly elected Kuomintang Nationalist Party chairman in Taiwan, the opposition party now. What is your takeaway from this meeting, and what do you think the Indian media and the political establishment's thinking about one China policy? Is there any change of tone?
Well, there is no change of tone, and may I point out that whenever I go to Taipei, I meet the leaders of the DPP and the KMT, and this is not the first time I've met the incoming chairman, Mr. Wu. Mr. Ma Ying-jeou is a very old friend of mine. I have many friends in the KMT. I have many friends in the DPP. And frankly, I am a private citizen. I have nothing to do with the government of India in any form whatsoever. But if a mountain is made of speculation, is made out of a small meeting, I can't help it. In the Indian side, I don't think anybody has reported this meeting because it's an inconsequential meeting between two old friends.
But there was an Indian magazine, Indiatoday, recently published a front cover showing the map of China deliberately omitting Tibet and Taiwan. So here in China, there's strong response to this kind of description about China.
Well, I was told by somebody in the magazine that this was not really omitting Tibet, but it was the shape of a chicken, and it was a kind of a cartoon map of different countries, so it is not really a serious map.
The U.S. and its allies are still patrolling the waters in the name of freedom of navigation, Wang Yi said. The situation was more relaxed. Some say this is a slam dunk diplomatic victory for China, while others ask how much significance can the binding political agreement carry. For more, I'm joined from Manila by Richard Hadarian, political science professor at De La Salle University in Manila, and from Bangkok, Sham Bumprason, former advisor to the Thai government. And here in the studio, Victor Gao, a global counselor at the Asia Society. Victor, this framework, the Code of Conduct in the South China Sea, is just a political agreement or manifesto, which is not legally binding. Does it mean it will easily lead up to a final document? But how significant do you think this is for the South China Sea disputes resolvement?
I think this document is a very important milestone document regarding the territorial disputes and the code of conduct in the South China Sea.